by this network, and this network is supported by a structure, but you don't have to touch this hard structure. Next to the left. And also can this achievement be realized very primitively just by hard surfaces, and in this case the surprise is that this seat looks very uncomfortable, and you are surprised when you sit down that it is very comfortable. Next two, please. Now the space you need for taking your dinner or taking coffee or whatever. There are very defined minimum measures, and actually it's not really comfortable to go very far beyond these minimal measures. Very often students draw when they draw furniture for a place, for a restaurant or so like that, they draw unnecessary distances between the tables and chairs, distances they would be surprised or they would not feel comfortable when they really came across distances like they are very often drawn in projects. So it's very usual to study these elements. First you see, for example, that with a square table you need less space if you put them diagonally. There is also given the accurate place of a support where it's not hindering the seating and the service and so on. So it's necessary to study these manual facts, these principles given in manuals, especially when you want to leave them. And it's always interesting to put, next two please, to go into solutions that are even beyond the minimum. The quasi-official minimum of a manual is this 60 centimeters, it's even, here, 60 centimeters table, and this position, this is a solution where you need 1 square meter per person or even less. But it's interesting. This is a design of a restaurant which is still existing, the Salzamt. There are seats here, for example, and there is a table, and there are the chairs to these tables. But these seats go into these niches and have an additional table here. So you, in fact, where you normally could only place 1 row of tables, you have 2 rows of tables. And it works. It's something you are not quite sure when you try it, but it works out but to go beyond these or below these minima given in the manuals, you have to know them and study them and their principles carefully. Next two, please. Or here's a solution of the question which always arises, that you place a banqueting arrangement of tables. And in this place, it's I don't explain the project. It was only here. There were candelabras, lightings fixed to the floor. I talk about this later, why it makes sense to fix lightings in certain cases from the floor. But they are placed in a way so that the tables used here can be combined, so that these light posts even are in the center of the table. Next two, please. Or the bar, the question of a bar, how high is a bar, where is the footrest? This is of an old, very old manual of the 19th century, where these measures have a little change because people in their average have been grow larger, grow longer, and so these measures are actually changed. On the other hand, it's, for example, very often said that these bar heights, they are very often given with 1 meter, is put too close to the wall, which results in hitting when you stand on the footrest, you hit the front of the bar and of course damage it in the course of time. While it's better to have it far away, even when it seems too far, it's farther than the rest here. But it's better for comfort, and it's also very often too low because the relaxing effect of this footrest is up to a certain amount is better when it's higher. I would even not hesitate to make it 35 centimeters high, but I think that a good measure is 30 centimeters from the floor and at least 20 centimeters from the front of the bar. Then you cannot, when you hang with this part in this, you cannot reach the front of the bar. Next two, please. Sorry, yeah, I'm just. Can we have go back to the right? This is a very simple profile for a railing of a bar, for a bar rail. The Americans have a profile which is slightly more complicated, and this is not the American one, but it is derived from the American one. It is the Americans have it even more tilted like that, so to be able to lean against it like this, and this part is quite usable when you have the necessity to hold yourself like this. Next two, please. Yeah, and now we are entering the question of light. These are also light posts standing on the floor, because this is the only way of being able to fix, to do a lighting, to put a lighting fixture as low as that. If it's hanging from the ceiling, you never can hang it so low because you would hit your head, and also there are regulations for a minimum height of a lighting fixture in a public space. So you would never have this characteristic of a punctual light so low in the middle of the room. By the way, this is a simple bathroom fixture, which is put to this wooden profile, and which at the same time serves as a cloak, as a wardrobe. And you even can put your hat on the. Some people think they are very funny when they put their head on top of this, but it has been calculated that way. Yeah, this maybe I explained it already here. For a table like this is taken in daylight, but I will come into other possibilities and other approaches to providing light in a room. But this is definitely a way to use punctual light fixtures, which result in the effect that light, when you, for example, it's also, this photograph is taken too low. A standing man is practically with his eye level in the height of these light fixtures. And that means at the same time, for example, if you pass there, the light in your face changes. It's not the same light effect as if, for example, if the whole thing was lit equally, like in an office or so, or in an office, say, of the 70s or 80s, there would be no change if you move in the room. But when you move in this room, the light in your face changes, and also the effect of the room for your perception changes. And it's also the effect that everybody, for example, somebody sitting here has a light close to him from behind, and a little farther away from in front. And this is corresponding to the basic light, for example, movies used in the 30s or in the 40s. This was a characteristic portrait light, also in photography. You had a soft light into the face, and you had a more keen light to your hair shape from above. And also it has the effect that the light next to you is not disturbing you by glare. The next light point is farther away, and anyway, the glass ball, the glass globe, has the effect that the light source that is in there is the amount of light that is produced by this light source is distributed on a larger surface. And therefore, this surface is not so bright as it was if this light was, take for example, a clear or even a matte bulb. This is one classical way of reducing glare, because you always have the problem that when you have light where you want to see something very near to it or in some range of your eye field, of your sight field, you have the light itself. When you look into this light, you are disturbed in your vision by glare. This is a classic problem, and this is one classic solution of it, in enlarging the surface which sends out the light. Next to, please. No, sorry. Next to the left, please. This is another classic way of reducing glare of another technology. These crystals multiply the amount of light points, of these light points. And it's not only this glittering effect which makes some fancy elegance or so, but it's also an actual reduction of the glare of the individual light points. This is a Baroque type where these candles necessarily had to stay outside the glass because they had to be lit and not, how do you call it, killed, and they had to be cleaned and changed and all this. So there was no possibility to put the light fixtures, the light points within the volume of the glass elements. At the right, please. This is one of a type of the 19th century and dating coming even used in concert halls until beginning of the 20th century. And at that time, the light already was electric and could be placed within this volume, which was for the effect, of course, better. Next to the left, please. Now I designed for a place which you can't see anymore. The one where I indicated the chairs of the beginning 19th century, this Baroque palace. In a restaurant in this environment, I made use of the fact first that all these glass elements are still produced. They are produced by the trade. They are combined, although they are dating from different times. This is a Baroque element, for example, and this is a Baroque element. Also, these are elements of the 19th century. Yeah, but they are combined in the trade without hesitation, and at the same time, it is possible with our technology, next right, to put the lighting, the bulbs, the clear bulbs. Of course, it's a big mistake to use matte bulbs in a crystal chandelier, because then the glittering is gone. And so this left, next please, and right. So this dining environment was lit like this. Again, these light fixtures were put very low and therefore put to the floor, in this case removable. They could be put differently, and which is in fact unusual for this type. It's a use of this type of light fixture which is not which is coming from the wish to achieve a very low position of these light fixtures. I would have thought it stupid to think of a modern chandelier, of a modern crystal chandelier. This has been tried in the 20s and 30s and so on, but since this is so unproblematically produced, and this was in the 80s, but these elements are still produced today. Next two, please. Of course, you can try to light something in another way. This is a solution as you would have done it in an office of the 70s or so. This place was, or earlier, also already 50s. The light fixtures in here are not visible because they are fast versteckt. Pardon? They are not to be seen because pardon? Hidden. They are hidden by these vertical elements, and the height of these elements dictates or defines the angle under which you can look. Of course, if you look like this vertically into this grid, you see the light element, but in a normal view you don't see it, and here it's even up to 60 degrees that you do not see it. But still, it's a light that very much comes from top, and so your shadow, your nose, your eyebrows make characteristic shadows which are characteristic for this kind of lighting. People were for decades used to be lit in that way in offices, while now already there is already the trend to use light fixtures that bring also light from the side. Next two, please. At the same time, in this restaurant, we used also this chair and this wallpaper design. It's both is by Josef Hoffmann, but it's not a restaurant that at any time Josef Hoffmann would have designed, because the fabric here is of 1904. The wallpaper is of 1913, and the chair design is of 1929. So it's of all of, but all of Josef Hoffmann. This shape of the chair is not only funny, but also comfortable, because when you only shift your body a few centimeters, you are sitting in a very different way. So it's an experience of sitting, and also a kind of sitting that makes you tired after a much longer time than sitting on a normal seat. Left, next, please. This wallpaper makes quite a different. Sorry, one of them is wrong-sided. It is very calm and structured from distance, and it's very lively and individualizing in close approach. And what is most intelligent in this pattern, therefore it's the best to do it in black, and not in black and white, and not in any color, because it's working in the negative. It's the shapes come out not by the printed areas, but by the negative, by the white areas. Next two, please. And you also could think of a light fixture that is punctually, that is has not a strip character, and as you can do it today already, you can do a smooth surface which is all lit. Of course, this is a way of producing light which is, of course, better not for a working situation, but for any situation even in a restaurant or in a discotheque or whatever, where you don't have the lighting technique is talking of vision. In German, it's Sehaufgabe. You have the was heißt Aufgabe? Yeah, no, it's not. You have not in an office, or when you read a newspaper, you have the task to see something. So see, for example, the letters on a paper. While when you have no visual task, as in a discotheque, you just are devoted to the experience and the event that you are taking part, then the light is itself the thing you see. Then it's adequate, for example, to have an area that is lit altogether, which is shining in total. Now you could also create different lighting situations from one globe. In the appearance, unfortunately I don't have a slide of with me now. It's just a globe. In fact, you don't realize that's something different with it, but it has it can be switched as a downlight only. It can be switched in the way that it only lights the ceiling as an indirect lighting, or the globe is lit as a normal globe would be, and any combination of these three lighting arrangements. Next two, please. Yeah, we were. I already explained that. Here you have a kind of high key, as it was called in photography, a space where everything is of same, where there are no shadows, so to say. And on the other hand, you have here the situation which I described. Everybody has a light above his hair, and he has a soft light from the other side of the room, where there are the same fixtures. And I would only, we were talking of the light, but I would now like to talk of the mirrors. These mirrors here, in fact, you probably have found out already. There's a mirror, and in fact, these are only 1.5 pillars, which double themselves to 3 in the mirrored image. Next two, please. And what you in fact see is this wall, where the bulbs are arranged in a way so that they shape a square, together with the mirrored image. And then, since the space is not rectangular, you see this. You have a feeling when you sit here. You see along into a wider space, which actually has a physical effect. It's not the same as if there was an additional space painted to the wall, because the eye is adapting to the mirrored distance. So when you sit here and look into the distance, what you can in this arrangement. Which you can in this arrangement, you adapt your eye virtually to the was heißt unendlich? Unendlich, ins Unendliche, in infinity. Because this is when your eye is not has no strength when it's relaxed. Then it is when you are normal sighted. It's in a relaxed position. The lens is adapted to infinity, and therefore in a small room or when you work, that's why it's an relaxing effect. If you meanwhile sometimes look to a distance. And in a small space where there are mirrors, you can adapt, automatically your eye adapts now and then to larger distances, and therefore you don't get cramped and uncomfortable and tired in a small room. Next two, please. Yeah, this is not... This is the effect from seen from near the mirror. This is why this position of seemingly 3 supports and of this square arrangement of the bulbs work. Next two, please. Of course, one example of also to be seen still today is Adolf Lohse's bar in Kärntner, in Kärntner Durchgang, in a small street next to Kärntnerstraße, very much in the center, where there are not 1.5 pillars shaping 3 with their mirrored image, but a half pillar next to the right, please. This is the ceiling, but here you see these pillars. There is a half pillar like here, and this is the mirror, and therefore this makes in the mirrored image a total square pillar. In the corner, where there are 2 mirrors, there is logically only a quarter of a pillar, which shapes a square pillar in both mirrored images. Next to the left. So you don't see where the room actually ends, and of course there is no mirror at the entrance, because you wouldn't believe that the space goes on here. You just came in here. This worked at least. I mean, there were people at the time which went there several times and one day asked, "What's over there?" And it does not work anymore today, because I mean it works as this image shows, but it does not work really as an illusion, because the glass on which this effect is based is a polished crystal glass, a polished glass which actually is completely plain. This was produced and buyable up to the 1970s. From this time on, every glass, in former times there was a difference between glass that was cast in basins and polished afterwards. This was this kind of glass, and glass that was produced in a continuous flow, vertically at that time. This is what you see in old windows, which just still makes waves into the outside view when you move. Today there is only the so-called float glass. This is horizontally produced in an endless flow, and it's on a liquid tin surface floating. And people say, dealers say it's the same, but it is not. When you move along this glass, unconsciously you see that the mirrored image is waving. And so also this, it does not work as an illusion. Nobody today would ask what's over there, because he realizes it is a mirror immediately, or even unconsciously. There is no technical, I had to do with the, finally I did not do it, but I had to do with the renovation of this bar in the late 1970s, and realized that this glass is not anymore produced, and I was not at the stage to find out whether there could be a possibility of producing it. There is no technical task, no technical necessity to produce a plain glass as it was done in the 30 years ago or 40 years ago. There is no technical, it's sufficient for everything, even for heliostats, which are, and the optical glasses in telescopes, they are polished, but they are not plain, they are, of course, curved. Next two, please. Yeah, sorry, can we go back to the right? Thank you. As I said, there is no mirror in the entrance, because that would be stupid. You would also, the illusion wouldn't work, because you just entered here and you know there's a street. There is an onyx. There are very thin onyx plates in this grid, and they shine. The daylight shines in during the day, and at night the light fixtures of the glass shop front also shine in. When you, I hope you visited, just realize this has nothing to do now with the mirrors. There are at the front there are 4 Skiros marble posts, pillars. But Loos only had 3. It was a commission he got from somewhere, and there were 3 pieces, and he needed 4. And this is why he cut those into half, like this. And since the next shop is arranged here, and the other shop here, you don't realize. But it's only, in fact, it's only 3. Next 2, please. Pardon? Pardon?
What was the name of this cafe?
Losbar. It's called Losbar. Losbar. After the architect. This is a place I did in the mid-70s, and there is the combination of 2 kinds of use of a mirror. This is a mirror that is applied to the wall like a painting, and it's quite normal. You don't, you see yourself or you see somebody else when you are in the right angle. But there's no. It's one way of using a mirror on the wall, the normal way, say. And this is a mirror that creates the illusion that the whole thing continues on the other side. The reason is to make a kind of unconscious, or to hide for a certain until a certain moment, until you have to be shown that these are the toilet doors. Yeah? So they are hidden in this grid, and they are next to the bar, and therefore this made sense to create the illusion as if there was especially no toilet next to, and next to the left, please. But to create this effect, and since you see the plan of this object is very much oblique, which you don't realize when you use it, but you would immediately use it if this mirror if these mirrors was standing parallel to this wall. Then the mirrored image would go on like this, or take here, yeah? Here is also, I don't have a picture of this part, but this mirror is like this, so that the mirrored image goes on straight. If the mirror was like this, the mirrored image would go on like this. And the same is true for this long distance. When you look through this opening and through this opening with a mirror, then you see the mirrored image of this opening exactly in the axis, as you see here. Otherwise, this thing would not work. So obliqueness in a room does not really destroy anything. It's acceptable. But in the moment you introduce mirrors, it has to be dealt with. Next 2, please. You also can put mirrors like this at an angle which has to be exactly 90 degrees, because otherwise when you look, you always see yourself, no way where you stand. You see yourself in this corner. Of course, you see yourself also in a normal part of the mirror perpendicularly. But in the diagonal, you always see yourself no way where, no respect where you stand actually, and you see yourself rightly as others would see you, with your right side to your left, and vice versa. Only when it's not exactly 90 degrees, you either have 3 eyes or 1. So for an arrangement like that, you have to take care of. Or here's a mirror in the restaurant Salzamt, which I showed also with the light bulbs with the light globes from the floor, where with the close niches with a second row of tables. This is in the lavatory, where there is a mirror which is actually only the strength, the material thickness of the mirror, and what is on this next to the left, please. What you see on the one side is actually on the other side the same way. So for some moments when you are in the cabin, you might think this is open. Next 2, please. Yeah, I'll come more to the end. See how. sorry. This is the other part of the Kleines Café, which I showed before, with the upholstery and the mirrors and the three mirrored pillars. This is the older lower part, which is about 4 years, has been done about 4 years before, where the mirror is framed by this profile going to the whole place. And I just put a little question to the kind of that profile. What kind of profile? I was sure to use a classical profile, but what? For example, this is a Palladio profile. What I used finally was this more calmer Alberti profile. Next to the left, please. This is a Palladio profile, which is very mannerist and distorted in itself. And to repeat a profile like that in wood would have made the impression of a stage set. So there is more this next to the left. Sorry, to the right. Right as well. Yeah, this is this profile now, and the position of the mirror, and this is also a mistake which I love to show, because here the considering of the perception of this element was a little wrong. This is the profile, and this is the mirror. The mirror, by the way, mirrors with its backside. So because the silver layer is on the backside. So geometrically, what is doubled, what is mirrored, is this profile. Seemingly, you only see, of course, you see only this corner. But this is what I wanted is that over this seemingly opening of this fake opening, there should be a beam. And this beam now actually is only that wide, which is not enough. I was afraid that this would be destroying the illusion because it's too far. In fact, nobody cares about this distance. This distance would have been